No, it's not. Star Wars The Force Awakens is nothing like A New Hope, okay? And all the arguments I see of people saying, well, it's just a rehash of A New Hope. It's basically, a reboot. Basically a remake. Fuck you, JJ. There's nothing inventive about it. There's nothing new. Fuck JJ, man. Fuck JJ. He didn't give us more. It's just a reboot. No, it's not. You're talking about parallels, okay? You're not talking about identical story structure and narrative. That's not what you're talking about. Every argument I see, well, you got Luke on a desert planet, now you got a girl on a desert planet. So, that's a parallel. Now, here's how The Force Awakens would have been exactly like A New Hope, okay? Rey lives on a desert planet, and she lives with her grandparents, okay? Remember, in A New Hope, Luke was living with his aunt and uncle. Rey's grandparents are killed by the First Order. Luke's aunt and uncle were killed by the Empire. Rey meets an older, wiser man after her grandparents are killed, and this older, wiser man is Luke. Remember, in A New Hope, Luke meets Obi-Wan. This older, wiser man says, come with me and learn the ways of the Force, and we'll figure out what happened to your grandparents and what's going on here. And because remember, that's what happened in A New Hope. And then on the way, they meet Poe Dameron, who's a pilot. And they ask Poe, because remember, in A New Hope, they met Han Solo, and they asked Han Solo to be able to, you know what I'm saying, right? And then, but before they can get there, BB-8 gives this message to Luke, the older, wiser man, that they must rescue a prince from the clutches of Starkiller Base. Because remember, in A New Hope, it was rescue the princess from the Death Star, and that is how The Force Awakens would have been identical to A New Hope. Even though it's different and it's different characters and it's playing out a bit differently, the sequence of events and the story structure of the narrative is the same. It's like A New Hope. The Force Awakens was nothing like A New Hope. You're talking about parallels, and there's going to be parallels in any continuing storyline about the same family. Don't give me this crap that A New Hope... Look, when I watched The Force Awakens, at no time did I sit there and think, holy fuck, this is exactly like A New Hope. This is exactly like A New Hope. Oh my God. Han Solo isn't playing the Obi-Wan type. What does he mean, Obi-Wan? He's playing Han Solo. He's not playing an Obi-Wan type who's all wise with the Force and, teaches Rey about the Force. And, he says to her before he gets killed, he says, the Force will be with you always. Excuse me, I gotta go get killed now. Nothing like that is happening. All right? You're talking about parallels, similarities in the overall story. You're talking about parallels. You're not talking about identical narrative and story structure. A New Hope is not like The Force Awakens. It's completely different with parallels, and those parallels are going to be there in a continuing story. Look, it's like saying that Star Trek is exactly like Star Wars because, they both take place in space. The main protagonists both fly in a ship, in Star Wars, it's the Millennium Falcon. In Star Trek, it's the Enterprise. The Borg in Star Trek is like the Death Star in Star Wars. They both have light speed, although in Star Trek it's warp speed, and in Star Wars it's hyperspace. Those are parallels. Okay? They're not identical plot and story structure. All right? The Force Awakens is nothing like A New Hope. Nothing. And if you don't understand the difference between parallels and identical plot devices and identical execution of sequence of events in story structure and the overall narrative, then I suggest you do your research. Just because there were parallels of A New Hope doesn't mean that it is A New Hope. Oh, it's exactly like A New Hope. It's exactly like A New Hope. Yeah, it's just Star Wars. It's just Star Wars rebooted. It's just exactly like A New Hope. I couldn't believe it. Nothing inventive. Come on, guys. Now look, the only thing that I will agree with you on, is, I agree. I would have preferred that maybe the Star Killer base wasn't so Death Star-ish. Okay? I agree with that. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it because the sequence of events played out very differently. Like what was going on Star Killer base. You know what I mean? That scene between Kylo Ren and Han Solo, which had to happen, by the way. Check out my other video where I talk about why it had to happen and play out the way it did. It's not just a bad guy killing a good guy. There's a hell of a lot more to it than that, and you need to read between the lines. That being said, the whole sort of thing happening on Star Killer base and the lightsaber duel in the snow and all this kinds of, like, it was just, it was awesome, and it was different, and it played out differently. So I think that's probably why I didn't mind the whole sort of Star Killer base being Death Star-ish, but I agree with you. Maybe, you know, if I was directing or writing the film, I probably wouldn't have gone that route. But that aside, that aside, it's still nothing like A New Hope. You're talking again about parallels, similarities in the way that things are sort of, you know, placed and the way that they're moving along. Not identical story structure and plot devices, okay? Saying, well, you know, Princess Leia put, you know, a message in R2-D2 and Poe Dameron put a message in BB-8. That's a parallel. Look, it would only be identical if Poe Dameron was a prince and he put plans to the sort of, you know, the construction of Star Killer base into BB-8. Then we're talking about, okay, hang on a sec, JJ. What are you doing here, right? That's not what happened. Poe isn't a prince, as far as we know. And he didn't put plans to the readouts of the battle station of Star Killer base into BB-8. Didn't happen. You guys need to understand the difference between parallels and identical narrative and story structure. You can find parallels in any film, in any genre, especially when it's a continuing story. So folks, know the difference. Do your research. Okay? Are you somebody that completely disagrees with me? Comment below. Keep it mature, guys. Keep it real, because if it's not mature and if it's just like, well, fucking sucks, that's not an argument. Yeah, fuck you, JJ. Yeah, you're a fucking idiot. That's not an argument, and I'll just delete your comment. All right? Let's have a mature conversation. All right? Okay? We can do that. If you're somebody who agrees with me, comment below and let me know. My name's Dave McRae. Peace.